Welcome to Live, Let Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome back to another exciting episode
of Live,
Let
Thrive. What's up, Myka, man?
Chilling, man. What you got up?
What do I got up? We got some special guests today. This is episode 91, by the way, of Live, Let Thrive, your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, home away, share economy, innovation podcasts, and all that stuff. And
today we got what? We got Erica. How do you say her last name? I don't want to butcher it.
It's just Erica.
Erica. We got Erica from my favorite city, Houston, Texas. And yes, sir. Throw it up. H is up. And
you can say AJ.
AJ. Okay, there we go.
Definitely.
From Houston coming on.
Yes, sir.
And they're gonna tell us all about what the co-host life, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All
the
right.
co-host life. I like that. I like that. So Erica and AJ. I was nervous about saying your name, AJ.
or you're not the only one. Trust me.
How do you say it, by the way?
Azubike. So it's not that bad.
Azubike. You are
Azubike.
Nigerian, right?
Yes, sir.
Igbo?
Good job. Yeah, good call.
That's the
Definitely.
same. That's the same, my friend. Yes, sir.
You must have Nigerian friends. That's the only way you'll know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, you got some news over here.
Sweet. Myka, real quick, I can barely hear you, man, on the recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna swap off to my main computer in a second. I'm going off my phone right now. I'm at mic. Let me see if I can.
Okay, I can hear you good now. You're closer to
Yeah,
the
let me.
mic.
Yeah, I'm about to connect the mic, but I'm gonna switch off in the middle of it. But yeah, go ahead, Stevie Stacks.
All right, Erica and AJ, y'all are Airbnb out of Houston, Texas, and so we'll go ahead and start off with the main question. When did you start Airbnb and what got you into it? And yeah, tell us about your journey a little bit, as Myka makes a lot of noise over there.
Well, it all started back when.
Hold on. Time out. Okay.
Okay. Is it good? We're all good?
Okay. All right, ready, go.
All right. It actually started Super Bowl in Houston.
Yep.
So it's I guess kind of common story, but not really. So she was going to school out here, and she had an apartment. And the Super Bowl is coming. I believe it was 2017.
Yep.
2017.
Yeah.
We used Airbnb traveling, but we never really got on the other side. And I was just thinking, I was like, maybe we should list your apartment on, Airbnb for Super Bowl. She was like, man, it's kind of too far. I don't know if anybody's going to book it.
Yeah, it wasn't like a luxury apartment.
It was literally just like a regular apartment.
Regular.
Yeah, so she was like, I don't think so. So we kind of played with it for a while because it was like January when we thought about it. So we kind of played with it for a couple of weeks, not doing anything. So we're like, let's just do it. So we just listed it. And then, like, immediately, because she was still going to school, so during the week, she'll be in the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're from Houston, so she can just go home if we had it booking. So she'll be living there, and then we put it up. And, like, immediately, it got booking. It got booked, I should say. And that was before we knew so much stuff and about amenities and pricing. So we just put it up for so low.
It was low.
It was like
$600.
Yeah, it was like $120 a night, and it was 10 minutes from NRG, so that's pretty close.
Ooh.
It's pretty close, But like I said, we're just so naive. That's the best word because we didn't know much,
Mm-hmm.
But once we posted it and we got booked every weekend, pretty much until she had to leave, which was only like an extra month.
Yeah.
That made us open our eyes. Was like, okay. People use Airbnb. People will rent on Airbnb. People will actually spend money. Like she said, it wasn't like a luxury apartment. It was just literally like a school, a dorm at some sort, a school apartment. So that really opened our eyes.
Nice.
Yeah. So Super Bowl is what started with this. Definitely.
Dang, man. I was actually there for Super Bowl weekend. I I didn't stay in an Airbnb. I stayed at my cousin's house, but all the houses around his house were Airbnb'd out. And I was like, dang, yeah, this dude, like a few of his neighbors rent their places at least $2-3 a night. Like these are just regular 3-4 bedroom apartments, houses. Man, yeah, I'll remember that one.
Yeah. I wish I could go back.
Yeah, no.
The price.
He says that all the time, and I'm like, I'm with you. Like we could have easily made like 3, 4, 5,000, even 6, just that small weekend, you know. But we try to be grateful. We try to look on the bright side because that did allow us to actually start, you know. So try to look on the bright side of things.
So y'all started with just that single apartment?
Just a single apartment.
And so y'all got the bug right away. You got those checks started rolling in.
Yeah,
checks started
rolling. Completely. You know, like I remember one time we put our stuff on Airbnb, we posted it, and we traveled out the city to LA. And that was the first feeling because she got a check. It was like, oh wow, like we can use this Airbnb money while we're literally out. Yeah. So that was like the first feeling. It was like, wow, we're getting money while not working. So after that, yeah.
You had the bug.
Yeah. We never went back.
And I was a college student, so that money was pretty good.
I needed that money.
Oh, yeah.
So then y'all, so what was your next step? Like you're saying, we're making good money now. How are we going to improve this? Improve the apartment or grow it?
Well, the lease ended like
the month after.
Yeah, the lease ended in March. Super Bowl's in February, and we put it up like that week before Super Bowl. So we had like maybe 3 or 4 weekends to put it up, and then after that, I moved back home because college is done, free apartment is over, and now we're like, okay, how can we do it again, you know? But I kind of just put it on the back of my head and wasn't really thinking much about it. But then I started working, and then he came to me and was like, hey, let's get another apartment solely for Airbnb. And I was like, just for Airbnb? Like we barely tried it, you know, like what about the rent?
And then I was like, no, I don't care. Let's just try it, you know, because at the time, you know, we're both working. So like if worst come to worst, you know, we'll just pay the rent, you know, which is granted, you don't want to do that if you want, but at the end of the day, if you can do that, then fine. So, but I was like, nah, man, like we got to get this apartment. So after the apartment at first, they were doing that ended quickly. We looked around, we kind of did some research. Okay, before we get into the next one, let's really try to, I guess, do a little research so we know we're getting a good area. The amenities were good and things like that. So we kind of, since we knew about NRG, we knew about that area pretty well, we pretty much wanted to go back there, you know. So we got an apartment literally across the street from NRG.
Yeah, you can see NRG from the balcony.
Yes, so it was close. So we literally put it on steroids like, okay, that was 10 minutes away, this is 1 minute away. Like we want to make sure that if you want to go NRG, it's not a problem. So that was literally our next step. After that, and that was almost like maybe a year in between, honestly. So it took us a little time, but it was about a year in between that first Airbnb and the one next to NRG.
But this time it was like a better apartment. It was a luxury apartment. It had an elevator. Furniture was brand new. We had Airbnb in mind the whole time, so everything was intentional. And like I think we paid rent like maybe the first
one. That's it.
The first month and like half the second month, and then the summer it was just paying itself. Like,
so I have a question for you because like I know Houston's like a lot of big players are Airbnb out in Houston. So like at this point, would you say Houston's saturated, or is there still money to be made?
At the time when we first got into it, when we got to the NRG one, or at present time right now?
Present time right now.
Honestly, I think there are a lot of players, but I honestly don't think they're playing the same game, if that makes sense. You know, there's a lot of people hosting their homes, a lot of people listing their apartments and condos, but it's not that many that are taking the small details into account, you know, really being intentional about making their property an Airbnb property as opposed to just listing your spare room or listing your spare house that you have. So I wouldn't say it's not saturated because, you know, a lot of people are doing it down here. I'm not going to say they're not, but it's not that many that are being intentional and actually trying to make sure the properties are upkept and making sure it's all the way to the T and things like that. So I'm gonna say a little bit yes and yes to both questions. Yeah.
Okay. So you just doing y'all are doing a good job of just standing out, right?
Yeah. That's essentially what we try to do. We watch and like listen and like read a lot of Airbnb things. So like pretty much on our mind 24/7 is Airbnb, and we're watching this like Netflix show. I think it's called like Instant Hotel. Yeah, and we learned small like design things from them, like having an Instagrammable wall or having an area where people want to take pictures. It's just small things like that we move to our Airbnb to make it stand out. So like we're constantly just learning, constantly just looking for things to improve. So yeah, like that's why I kind of feel like even though it may be saturated, you know, if you can stand out in some way, you will.
I'm writing a bunch of things down here, AJ and Erica. First question was, because y'all started that one right across the street from NRG, and you said it was like a higher end apartment. So how much a month were y'all paying for that high end fancy apartment?
The rent itself was about $1,200. You know,
that's it.
So it's not that bad exactly, and it's right across the street.
We got it through an apartment locator, so it was originally 15. But they got it down to 12, and I was like, okay, now we can take it. But if it was a 15, I think I would have been a little more skeptical still for a while. But once it was 12, I was like, okay, 600 each, that's fine. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So it wasn't that much. But yeah, it was still an amount that we're like, okay, we got to really make sure we try to get this money back per month, you know.
and so were they, did they really know what Airbnb was back then? And was it legal in those apartments?
That's the question.
Okay, you kind of flip it down to our next story. But I'm just going to answer it and then go to the next spot what you want to hear. People were actually doing it in our exact apartment complex, you know? So just not well. Yeah, just not well. So we were doing it, you know, like we started it in March and all of April was pretty much booked once we opened it, you know? And then ever since then, it just kept going well. So more and more people were coming to the apartment. And then every once in a while, I'm walking around and, you know, as an Airbnb host and walking around the apartment complex, you know who's the Airbnb guest. You can kind of, they're looking around and stuff like that. So we kind of started seeing more and more of that in our apartments. So we're like, okay, some other people are doing it, you know? And that was before we knew about like corporate leasing, things like that. We just knew about regular Airbnb. So yeah, so we were doing it. And like I said, we kind of saw people, we kind of saw smart locks in the apartments as well. So we're like, okay, you know, so we're doing it so well. And then just one time we got a call from the front office and they're like, yes, I think we see your listing on Airbnb. You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. We're like, really? No, it's not. You know, we're doing that game. And it was like, yes, well, I'm sorry, you'll have to, you can't do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. So kind of for almost like 2 months, we kind of put that on hiatus because, again, that was like our first real one. So to be honest with you, they spooked us, you know, like they really did. We were scared. We were like, man.
But no. So what we did was we unlisted it because at that time we were already booked all the way through to August. So we're like, okay, we took it down, but it was still running. Yeah. So then they called us again.
And they were like, we see it again. We came to the front office and we're just talking and we're, you know, is there any way, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is before we knew about corporate leasing. So we're just like, yeah, it may not be ours. It may be theirs, you know. So we're really trying to like, what can we do? Can we do it? Can we can't? So when they called us the second time, they're like, yeah, I'm sorry. You can't do that. I'm sorry. We know you have bookings. So we're like, okay, darn. So we unlisted it. We unlisted it and kind of had like a hiatus for a couple months. And that's honestly where we started co-hosting, to be completely honest.
No, you skipped a step. We started subleasing.
Oh, yeah.
Subleasing.
Subleasing. But so essentially after we kind of got spooked with they're like, okay, oh, no, you can't do this anymore. So like, again, we kind of got kind of scared. So we're kind of figuring out what we can do to continue Airbnb, because at this point, the ball was rolling. We didn't want to really stop just out of nowhere, you know? So for the 2 months we stopped, so we're like, okay, we went to, this was, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're looking on Craigslist, OfferUp, Let Go, pretty much anywhere to find people subleasing like their apartment for the summer, because it was summertime. So we're thinking, okay, if it's not, because the main reason why that the apartment we're at, it kind of got like that, because it was kind of, you know, it's an elevator, so it's closed. You see people walking in and out. It's not an outside apartment, so it's a lot easier to get caught, you know.
They would go to the leasing office and say they're looking for their Airbnb.
Yeah. So like that happened. So we kind of moved to subleasing. So we saw one that was, she was like, yeah, I'm leaving for the summer. I just finished school, but you know, they do year leases. So they had June and July and half of August still under the lease, but she moved back home. So I was like, okay. So we just said, can we take that from you? You know, not even telling her about Airbnb. We're like, can we take that from you? You know, and she was like, oh, definitely. I'm trying to find somebody to take my lease. So we took that, and it was a little further out from NRG, but still in a good area, still near the Galleria. I'm not too sure if y'all familiar with that. The Galleria.
Southside?
Yeah. So it's still in a good area. So we did that, and again, we're like, wow, we just paid $1,000. We had to make this work, you know, like we have it up until August. So while the one by NRG was secretly under commission, still going on, still not going on, we kind of built our chops with those subleases. So we got that one, and literally from June to August, the rent was, how much was the rent for that one? I think it was pretty cheap. It was like $900 or something like that.
Which one were we talking about? The first guy?
Yeah. I think it was like $800 or $900, and we're maybe getting about 15, 16, around $1,700 a month for those 2.5 months. So we're like, okay, this is definitely something that is sustainable. This is definitely something that can be continued and can be copied. So we're just grateful that we can continue doing that, you know. But all in all, while we're doing the subleasing, we went back, because I was living there. You know, that was actually my apartment. I was living there. So once we weren't Airbnb, I was just living there. I noticed there's different management, you know, because, you know, apartments change management so much. So, you know, she didn't really want to do it, but I was like,
I did it.
I was like, let's just put it back. It's different management. We can say we didn't know, you know. So, so our lease was ending, and
we did
actually, our lease was ending. So we got the lease in March. So it's March to March. They caught us around the summertime. So that's when we kind of slowed down. And then around August, September,
we put it back up.
Yeah, we put it back up.
We didn't open the dates.
We didn't open the date shit.
We had the rodeo. So the rodeo is, are you guys familiar with the rodeo at all?
Yeah, okay. Selena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't they have one like in Dallas?
Oh, cool.
It's kind of similar.
Fort Worth, I think.
Yeah,
right?
State
Fort
Worth.
Worth.
Yeah. Okay. It's kind of similar.
Yeah, so it's at NRG every year, and that's like February through March. So it's the February, and then our lease ended in March. So we were like, okay, let's open those dates up.
Yeah.
And so that whole, actually the entire time of the rodeo, it was booked back to back because people are taking into consideration not having to pay for parking. You know, they can just walk across or walk outside, and you have the Lyft bikers who will just take you there, and you just pay tips, you know. So families, they loved it. It was safe. There was parking, you know. So that we went out with the bang there, and we didn't get caught. So.
So like she said, because once we got the listing at first, it was March, so we just missed the rodeo of that year. So in our head, we're like, no, we're gonna make sure when February, March comes again, I don't care, we're gonna do it. So once we did it, we're like, okay, that around the rodeo time, it was almost ridiculous how many inquiries, how many people wanted to stay. And again, like she said, when we say walking distance, we literally mean walking distance. You can walk outside, 5 minutes, you're in the NRG parking lot, you know? So people really loved that. And that was like a huge selling point. And that's when we kind of learned small things like walk to NRG in our title, you know, parking, you know. That's when we kind of started learning the small things. Because when we first started, we just posted, we listed, and got the inquiries. We weren't really worrying about different titles. We weren't really worried about different descriptions. We weren't really worried about where pictures may go, which pictures should go. We weren't really worried about that. But once we got that rodeo traffic, we were like, okay, we know specifically we should cater to these people. We know specifically we should cater to those people. We know, so that's when we kind of learned those things. But yeah, that rodeo really opened our eyes to like
a lot,
that area just in general. And that, I don't want to go ahead of myself again. That's what caused us to get another apartment by NRG to kind of just do that full time by itself. So that kind of runs like by itself, you know. I was literally over there earlier talking to the cleaner, but that's how we moved over to that NRG apartment, kind of a little further out, maybe a couple minutes, but it's still maybe 5-10 minute drive to NRG. So it's still relatively close, but just not as close as the other one we had.
So what kind of profits were y'all making off the one walking distance to NRG?
I'm going to say our rent was about $1,200. We averaged easily about $2,100 a month. So we get about $700-800, you know, on, I know specifically for July, we made $3,500 and our rent was $1,200. And that was July specifically. So like, we really was like, okay, no. This is something that like, you know, so it was so crazy.
A one-bedroom apartment or two?
One-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
H-Town, I'm coming down, baby. I'm coming down.
But it was a one-bedroom, but we did in the time that we took between the Super Bowl and starting that, we learned how to optimize the space. So although it was a one-bedroom, we had in the living room a day bed with a trundle, which gave us enough to sleep 4. So there's 2 twin beds essentially, and then 1 queen bed. So one bedroom, but it sleeps more than 1.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the trundle. I like the trundle.
Yeah, those are really, really helpful. Definitely sleeping more people. But yeah, that apartment really, really profited a lot. So that really opened our eyes to the actual Airbnb and how you can actually make money on Airbnb, you know?
Oh yeah.
So you said it was 30, you made 3,500, your rent's 12, man. So I want to go back to you getting caught. Because I've been in that situation myself. So I've been in that situation myself. So did y'all have y'all face on Airbnb? Like your profile picture and all that?
We did actually. We did, yeah.
Is that how they caught y'all, or did they ever let y'all know how they caught y'all?
I think it's the pool picture, honestly.
Yeah, I think with the pool, because again, this was our first time, we're just going in. But we had like a pool picture. So if you know your apartment, you know that's the apartment, you know. So that was one of the main reasons that really like got people to say, okay, that may be it. And again, like I said, other people in the apartment were listing it on Airbnb. They were. So again, this may just be us hoping it wasn't us. But we're thinking one of other guests went to the front office and just said, I'm looking for an Airbnb, not necessarily ours, but a Airbnb. So I think after that, they kind of just looked all through Airbnb to see if they can find it. So that's how I think I got caught, you know?
Okay.
But who knows? They may have saw us. They may have saw our guests walk into our apartment. Who knows?
So do y'all still do arbitrages like that now? Or?
Just one. Yeah.
Just one?
Yeah.
Are y'all doing it on corporate, or you still have them kind of underground? How you?
Wow.
It's still kind of underground.
It's kind of both, a little bit of both. So there is someone in that apartment who has a corporate lease. So he has several of them. So, you know, we just slid ours in. It could not be his. But
it's a lot easier not to get caught, I should say, because it's just a regular apartment, you know, outside stairs. So it's a lot bigger. So it's going to be a lot more research, a lot more digging to find out Airbnbs. And again, I don't want to encourage anybody to do this or not. We're just telling you what we did and what we're doing, you know. So I don't want to tell somebody doing like, oh, I got caught. You said to do. I'm not telling you to do it.
Oh, I'll tell you how to not get caught, and I'll tell you how to get caught. You know, like if you listen to our podcast, we go all the way in.
I know. That's why I didn't mind saying that we got caught.
yeah. You know, everybody's been there. You know,
definitely.
So at this point, like, how many units do you guys have? Airbnb units do you guys have in total?
Okay. Every time staff, I always really have to think. Okay. So right now we're in a regular house that has a garage apartment. So we're renting that out. That rental arbitrage that we have that I was telling you about. That's a little bit further out from NRG. We're doing that one. That's under our name. And then the rest of them, honestly, are all co-hosted. And we have 10 listings and 5 properties.
Okay.
So all the other ones are other people's property, other people's homes that we just help them co-host. So that's kind of how we maneuver over to being a co-host as opposed to just regular hosting. So we started hosting by ourselves, like the one by NRG, and then a rental arbitrage that we're doing, then also the garage apartment that we're doing. But all the other ones are all co-hosting.
Okay. So with you being a co-host, which I've never really co-hosted, I've always used teams. So I want to, what all does that entail for you to do?
Okay.
So pretty much us specifically, you know, every co-host, they have a set amount of things that we do. But we do this full time. So it allows us to be able to do more than just, you know, we'll message. So from the beginning, actually all of ours, except for one, they were just property owners. So they weren't doing Airbnb at all. So we offer a setup service, which is we'll help you set it up. And then we'll also help you manage it, which is day to day, from like guest correspondence to cleaning. What else? Like pretty much everything.
Listing photography. We pretty much do up and down. It is different per property owner because some hosts say, "Oh, I want this, I want that." So we kind of tailor it per host. Per property owner, I should say. But essentially, we run that bad boy up and down. You know, we do the listing photography, we change the pricing, we put our dynamic pricing on there. We make sure the pictures look good, the descriptions, pretty much do all of that under being the co-host.
Wow. So like, cause you guys doing 10 properties, how are you, what automations do you have? Do you guys are using automations? Are you answering your own messages? Are you going out to these places, or do y'all have automations set up?
Yeah, we have automation. We use Your Porter for messaging, things like that. We love Your Porter, honestly. We use a couple other ones, but we really like Your Porter. So that's the main thing. We use Beyond Pricing. And I know you're a fan of Price Labs, so I'm really may have to check that out. But we use Beyond Pricing now. And it's doing pretty good with us. So those are honestly the main thing as far as automation. Because like she said, we do this full time, so we have a lot of our time to do the things that, as opposed to paying out, we can just do ourselves,
except for cleaning.
Got you.
Oh yeah, of course we have a cleaner, because there's no way that we can clean all those properties at once, because there's a lot of check-ins and check-outs on the same day.
So we work with one cleaner, and she has a bunch of other cleaners, so they'll take care of that. But we do everything else except for cleaning.
Okay. Y'all need to talk to Steve, because Steve like to go scrub toilets. I've been trying to get him out of there, but
like honestly, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like I was kind of with you, because she used to always tell me, stop cleaning. I was like, I don't know. I just feel like me cleaning, but I don't clean anymore. So thanks. I'm not gonna lie, Steven, I was with you. I used to be on
my wife was doing the turnovers, all right? We had one Airbnb, and I would go help every now and then if my shit give me shit about it. So back to real quick. So the co-hosting, this is what fascinates me, because I've heard like people try it and then they'll jump out of it saying it's not worth it, for the 20%. Or how much do y'all charge for co-hosting?
We charge 20. Yeah, we
20%.
started with 10, and
that's free.
Yeah, that's again, we're just jumped in. And that was like the first somebody came to us was like, oh, and we're just like 10%, and in our head it was like, we're getting 10%, we're not doing anything, So it's like 10% is good, but once we started doing more, we're like, okay, no, 10% is definitely not cut it at all. So we charged minimum 20% now. minimum 20%.
Okay, and how? Because like I said, I hear people hop out of it saying it's not worth it. All kind of like they're doing all the work and only getting 20% of it. And so a lot of people, quit doing that pretty quickly. What keeps y'all doing it, and what are some tips to make it easier and worth
it? Honestly, I'll say what keeps us going is, I'll go back to the Super Bowl. That bug, like I'm kind of have like an addicted personality. So like I'm always trying to find a new property or find another person to convince to do Airbnb, or like that's kind of like my like way about it. So I don't really see it as not profitable or not like getting enough money for us, because I see it on the way that we're in a stage of growing. We're trying to move to the next step. We're trying to make it so that we don't ever have to do this and it becomes autonomous, so I don't really see it that way. But I honestly think, while some people may say that, because they may just be co-hosting one person's, and that one person's may be getting about $1,500 a month. So they see about, maybe 100, 150. So they're like, that's not worth it. But, if you have 5, 6, 7, 8, those start to kind of add up, So I think it may be kind of different for us because of that. But I think if you are co-hosting, and I'm talking to people out there, try to get as many as you can, because that's where you actually see the numbers coming in. And then once you get more, the automation starts to come in. You start getting your systems down. So you get more, and then you start to see you're doing less work.
I would also say putting in more effort. So, of course, if you just see co-hosting as like taking over someone else's Airbnb, like you're just going to get whatever it is that they put in the work for. But if you put in effort to make sure, you can increase the pricing from what they were doing, like make it better. So, okay, instead of $30 a night, we can now charge. A good example, we just took over a new Airbnb. He was originally charging $30. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And he was charging $30 a night for each room and $70 a night for the entire house.
And we're like,
that's low.
That's
So now, like tomorrow we get the first guest and they're paying $125 a night, which is okay, to start. But that's what I mean by putting in more effort, because we swapped out the furniture, we redid the listing to make it, more attractive so we could get more. But if we just took over and was like, okay, we'll just keep it at the $70, eventually it won't be worth it.
Yeah.
But
so
if you keep building and growing it, then, it benefits you and the owner.
Yeah.
That's awesome, right? See, I never heard a response like that, because yeah, I mean, if you're just gonna get 10% of $70, that's $7, or 20%, that's $14. That's not worth it. But you actually make growing his profit margins, which in turn grows your profit margins. That's pretty genius right there.
Exactly. So that's really the way that we like to come into it starting, because no matter what, if we take over an Airbnb or a listing, the first thing that we want to do is see how can it improve. Because if it's already on Airbnb and it's doing well, that's good, but there's always ways you can make it better, whether different furniture, whether the design, whether things like that. So that's kind of how we came into it. So it's like, okay, if he was making $80 a night before, and we know everything that we know about Airbnb, I'm sure we can make it go up to 100. I'm sure we can make it go up to 115 a night. So I guess that's another way or another reason why it's not something that we just want to stop, because we know we're in control of the destiny, as opposed to the owner being controlled,
A lot of our homeowners, they actually never come to the property. They never message the guests. Nothing. They just, all we ask is that they pay us the cleaning fee. So every week, it used to be every 2 weeks, but now it's every week we invoice them for the cleaning fee, and they'll just pay that because they got the money. So they don't care about the house.
That's awesome.
They don't know. One of our hosts, owners, they actually live in Alaska. So so like they don't even know what's going on, but they're fine with what's coming into their bank account. So
and he has a real unique situation. He has a 4-plex, and this has kind of inspired me to do something like this. He has a 4-plex, and all 3 of them are on Airbnb, and then one of them is a long term. And he was saying just that one long term, allows him to make that for sure, then everything else just
profit.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of where I want to move to. I want to get like a duplex or a triplex to do something like that. I know I always talk about it, she hears it, but that's kind of like my
how hard are those to find in Houston? Like a duplex, triplex, and a fourplex in a decent in an Airbnb type neighborhood.
That's the thing. You know, you did the Airbnb type area, but so many of these areas are being, I hate to use this trigger, being gentrified, you know, like around Third Ward, around like historically black universities in Houston. So a lot of those areas that had duplexes and triplexes that were kind of run down, now those areas are getting better. So this is literally the perfect time to like purchase and invest in one of those duplexes and triplexes.
In the Third Ward?
Yes, Third Ward is the area.
Wow. Okay, my wife's family's from there. That's why I was thinking. Okay,
definitely. Yeah, because I know they're building. They're about to build an HEB in that area. You know, like a newer HEB. Yeah. And then and then, you know, I always like to say, once you have a Starbucks, you know you're all the way on the other side. It's not a Starbucks yet. But there's an HEB. Close. So I know they're going in that direction. So definitely the Third Ward area is like a real area that you should invest in. But back to your actual question, they're pretty expensive, but not the price that you would think for what the area would be, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I still think it would be a deal to buy it now. I'm no real estate agent though.
No, they always say that is true. If you got Starbucks and you got random white people running their dogs, your neighborhood values going up. I'm just saying.
No, you're not lying there. You're not lying there.
But yeah,
real quick on HEB. HEB is this South Texas grocery store chain that I love. I'm in North Texas, so there's none over here, or there might be some.
Burleson.
Yeah, some fancy man. It's not like they're saying the South Texas ones.
Yeah.
But anyways, I love HEB, and I have friends when I visit friends in Houston. I say, hey, y'all anything? I'm gonna go to the HEB. You know.
Oh, the HEB are like the size of Mall of America. They're huge.
It's bigger than Costco's and stuff. And I remember going one time to pick up some stuff for a friend, and I went to that huge HEB right down the way. And man, they had samples at every place. They're getting beer samples, wines, everything. Loaded up in there.
And just walking past.
And it was just all the beautiful people in there shopping, and I was like, "Dang, this is cool." And so I have an idea for y'all. Y'all heard of Airbnb experiences, right? Mm-hmm. Y'all should do a HEB, an authentic HEB experience in Houston, Texas, and go take them shopping at the HEB. It'll be a hit.
You know, like people when they message us like, what should we do? What should we do? So hey, you may have onto something. Come to the biggest grocery store in the
world. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, we got off topic. One quick question. Okay, so I'm still like on that co-hosting thing. Yeah. Now you said, I like how y'all are saying y'all are maximizing the profits for them, in turn maximizing y'all's profits. Definitely. But what do you, if you had to choose between co-hosting and doing the arbitrage, which one would you choose and why?
Co-hosting, honestly. Really? The main reason, to be completely honest with you, is the quote unquote pressure of paying the rent, you know? Like, although if it's going good, you won't have to worry about it. And if it goes good all the time, you'll never have to worry about it. So that's good. But, you know, you never know, you know? So that's why we kind of like co-hosting, because it allows us to be flexible with our finances just in general, because we don't have to, you know, drop 15, 17, 1800 to start. You know, we literally start money free, you know, like we're coming in with paying no money, and we're coming out getting money. So it's like
win-win.
So, you know, it's a win-win. 1 + 1 definitely equals 2 in that situation.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have an opportunity for you guys. Oh, but it's funny. I just mentioned this. You know, I just can't cross my mind right now.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that recently I work at American Airlines here at DFW Airport, but like a spot opened up what we do over at the IAH Airport in Houston, mm-hmm. And so he jumped on it because his girlfriend, fiance, she lives in Galveston. So he didn't want to be, you know, he wants to work during the week with the weekends off, maybe even Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And so, but he doesn't want to do that hour and whatever, 15-minute drive back and forth to Galveston every day. So he was just looking for a spot in Houston he could rent. And then, but he wouldn't even use it on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? So he might have something available that y'all could co-host, rent out on the weekends for him. You know
yeah, definitely link us up, man. We love growing. We love talking to more people. We love just like spreading the knowledge, because it's funny because whenever I talk to property owners or homeowners about Airbnb in general, you know, the first thing they say is always the same thing. Oh, I tried to list it on Soooooooo. I didn't get it listed. Oh, I don't like Airbnb. That's every time we talk to a homeowner, that's literally their story. They say, yeah, I tried. And I say, how much did you put the price in? $15,000 a night. I'm like, maybe that's why, you know.
$1,000 a night.
Yeah, they always give us a crazy number. And it's like, I get it. But so that's literally always their story. So they always like, oh, I don't like Airbnb. We tried. And so whenever we go in, I kind of like, it's like, okay, as long as you heard about it, as long as you know about it, I feel like I'm pretty convincing in talking to somebody that I can convince them to at least hear me out, you know? So, yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, you like the co-hosting. That just trips me out. And shoot, I might rent an apartment in Houston and then let y'all go.
Hey, man, don't say it unless it's true.
Hey, I'm definitely thinking about it.
So on that note, let's say, okay, hey, let's say we're gonna run through this real quick.
Okay.
Let's say, hey guys, y'all find me if y'all can find me a good place to rent, you know, let's say $1,500 a month in a good spot. I'll go ahead and do that. Now, but I'm over here. Could y'all set me up with all the, you know, could y'all like get it ready, you know, ready to go for me? Of course I'll pay for everything. And if so how much would it cost to get me started, like on, let's say, a 1-bedroom, you know, whatever, 600 square foot place, to get it up and running with all the furnishings I need and ready to roll?
So that's where I come in. So we've pretty much gotten that down to a science. So for like a 1-bedroom that's easy, we can get that set up in a weekend. That's how often we've done it. So what I like to do, I like to first start off on Facebook Marketplace. Like, I'm so glad that exists. Facebook Marketplace is my favorite place to go to for Airbnbs. And so like we'll probably use like maybe $700 to furnish the entire thing.
What?
Yeah.
Like when I say, like, again, like I use, you know, OfferUp, you know, those resale apps, but like how she uses it, it's like a different story. And I didn't even know, like, she finds couches for like $50. She finds beds for like, so of course it does take some looking, you know, you're not just going to open the app and it's going to be there, but like she finds it. In like our garage apartment here, we furnished it for about $600-700.
Yeah.
We have a bed, a couch, a TV, you know, it's a full run. It's somebody's coming tomorrow actually. So it's a full run Airbnb. So yeah, like Facebook Marketplace is where she goes to find it. So, and again, also a plus on that is on the design. You know, she taught me that she has like the design eye. She says, if you get a set in something, it's not quote unquote real design. You know, you just buy it from the set. You know, it looks how it looks. You know, like I said, she's the designer. So she said, no, you need to get this bed and then get these 2 side tables. And so doing that makes it cheaper because you're buying these 2 side tables here for $20. You're buying this bed frame here for $50. So as opposed to buying a queen bedroom set for $500, you know, that it all matches and stuff like that. So small things like that allow it to be unique, allows it to be different, and then on the other end allows us to spend less money furnishing it.
Yeah, so you'll jump into your profit from Airbnb quicker because you'll probably get that back within the first month. We have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2.5 bath that I think we furnished that with with $3,000, and he got that back the first month. So now he's just all profit. And his house is fully paid off. He only pays taxes at the end of the year, I think. So he's just,
so he's loving it.
He loves it. He actually just bought another condo. We're getting ready to set that up in August. Like, he is in love with Airbnb.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, like he'll call me every once in a while. He'd be like, is there a certain reason why this weekend is not booked or this? And I'm like, don't, like, give it time, don't worry. And like literally he did this to me twice. Both times he said it while we were on the phone, he got to book it. Like literally. He was like, I'm just gonna shut up. Because like every time he calls me, it's not like he's like, you know, like I get it. If you're not really with Airbnb, you have questions like, am I, you know, so I try to be as stern, as polite, try to be, you know, just try to talk to him calmly about it. But like literally every time, and he'll be like, he'll see it, he'll be like, oh shit, I just gotta book it. You know, like, trust us, don't worry, you know, like, don't worry, you know? So
so of course I have to ask this because y'all seem like y'all are rolling pretty good in Houston. Has there been any rumblings about wanting to try to put a ban in place or a partial ban in place in Houston?
I actually just saw an article. Now, I didn't read it. I just read the heading, but I think Airbnb and I guess something in Houston are teaming up to increase tourism. So I think it's actually the opposite of most areas. I think they're like, oh, okay, Airbnb is bringing people in. Let's see what we can do. Because most of the hosts here, I would say, care about the type of guests they're bringing in. There was one house I know of that was just a party house, and the neighborhood and the city shut them down, so they can't do Airbnb at all. It had a pool indoors,
so it was a real party
so it was a real party house.
It was over there kicking it, man.
So that's how it should be. Shut down the problem child. Don't shut down everybody.
Yeah. So I think for now, Houston and Airbnb, they like each other.
Yeah. They've had them issues. Yeah.
See, Airbnb is learning. You know, I mean, they were just, you know, making all this profit off the cities without even giving a flip about the city council or what's, you know, they didn't pay off the right people. Now they're learning their lesson.
Yeah, no.
I think they're growing. I think they were growing faster than they planned to. It looks like.
Oh yeah, they blew up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Y'all own any properties?
No, we don't own. We don't own any properties ourselves. No.
And do y'all plan on buying some to Airbnb or to live in or whatever?
We plan on buying something next year. Honestly, we still, of course, whatever we buy, we want to house hack in some way. Like, no matter what, we want to try to have it house hack. Like, we're staying here.
Yeah.
We're renting here. It's a house, but the landlord knows and is okay with it, so it's not an issue. I know, right?
That's dope.
Issue. So, we do plan on buying some soon, but no matter what we buy, we have house hacking in mind.
Yeah. Okay. But the thing with our house, why it's special, is typically I don't think landlords like to do this, but it's in a neighborhood where it's an old neighborhood, but it has a lot of new houses. So the neighborhood is worth like millions, but the houses we're in are like they're cheap, but no one wants to, you know, spend that money to buy. It'll cost like what, $4,000, $400,000
just to break it down.
This is not a new house, you know? So they're like, okay, if you want to rent it, that's fine. We need that. So that's why. But I think if it was a regular house and a regular landlord, probably not.
Yeah, I think we just got lucky with that.
Yeah.
So like a $400,000 house, you're saying you're renting that?
Yeah, but it's not like the house is old. The only reason it's worth that much is because of the land.
Yeah, because all the other houses in the neighborhood have been broken down and then built back up, you know?
So like our neighbor's house is like $1 million house.
Yeah, like pretty much
across
like
the street
all
is $1
these
million.
houses, you know, it's less smaller houses than bigger houses.
But like our neighbor on this side, it has a small old house as well. So it's just
crazy big.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what would y'all's, when y'all do eventually buy, what would your ideal house be? Of course, the house hack, the ideal house for y'all to get the maximum Airbnb money out of it.
Like, to be completely honest, when we were thinking about buying a house in general, like, you know, we weren't really thinking about like Airbnb. We're just, you know, just a house for us, but just, you know, I listen to a lot of bigger pockets, excuse me. So no matter what, the house hacking is something that I want to do no matter what. So, so we weren't really thinking about like Airbnb about the house, but we just know for sure whatever house that we do end up buying, we can house hack, whether it be long-term rental or short-term rental with Airbnb. I'm
gonna give you my personal advice because I see how Erica was like, because it really is gonna come to that if you house hack. So my personal suggestion, buy a house with a house on the back. So then they're not in your space. You're just house hacking. They're paying your rent, and you living for free.
I like that.
Yeah. That's the best thing. That's personally what I'm looking for right now. I'm trying to get out of this. You know, I'm looking for a house like that.
I got you.
So that was the best thing.
Yeah, we got a lot of advice on the house hacking front that we've discovered ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially a few quick ones. I mean, we throw them out there all the time. But if you do, you know, you find one that, let's say, you know, 3-2, a nice 3-2 house. Those things you could rent all day long, right? 3-2 or even a 4-2.
Yeah.
And then y'all are gonna get ready to bounce to the next house. Now, here's one thing: if you've built up quite a bit of equity in that year that you've been there, or longer, or however you plan to stay in there, always do a cash out refi before you move into the next one, because because then you'll get the lower interest rate. Now, if you move out into the next one, put renters, and then you think like, oh, okay, I got a lot of equity in the house, I'm gonna go back and pull some money out. Then they're gonna jump your interest rate, you know, as an investment property.
True.
Yeah. If it's your personal property, then you know you might even get a lower interest rate if you cash out a refi. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But if it's an investment property, they treat it differently.
Yeah, because that kind of almost hurt me. I was about to refile my property, and I saw that interest rate of an investment property. I was like, oh hell no! Yeah, so that's up the numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
but go ahead, Steve.
No, I just I highly recommend house hacking. That's how I got my 4 houses. So any questions y'all got about that? I know a little bit.
Oh, cool. Definitely be hitting you up.
Yeah. So about like, how do y'all plan on growing? Like, what is what's y'all next steps for growth? Because y'all seem like y'all young hustlers.
So right now we are actually, we were trying to work on like, what is that? Kind of like a training of sorts. So I think it was Paula Pant, right? That's her name, Paula Pant?
I think it is. I just know, I believe it was her podcast. I think it's called Afford Anything. But I don't know if we're not sure if it's her or somebody on her podcast.
I think it's her. Yeah. But we want to, in a sense, train other people to co-host under us so we don't have to co-host ourselves. So, but honestly, in the last couple of months, like the amount of listings we've gotten has made us like kind of put that on the back to set these up, because it's like, oh, okay, this month we're like in the process of setting this up. And well, AJ is always actively reaching out to property owners, even though I told him to hold on real quick. But so when we're done working on this one, he has someone else who's like, oh, I have 10 properties I want to put up. And I'm like, oh, so hopefully when, you know, we get them all set up, we want to have like some type of training and bring other people on board, because I think co-hosting for us has helped us because, you know, like you said, I just graduated out of college. So we're young. We don't really have much capital, but it was a good way for us to get into. So we want to teach other people like, hey, you don't have to wait until you have capital. You know, this is something you can do. So that's our short-term, long-term goal for right now. Now, by the end of the year, maybe that will change. But as of right now, that's what we're focusing on, just getting really good at this co-hosting so we can teach other people, you know, how to co-host themselves, and then we'll be able to trust them to do our stuff.
Yeah,
y'all are gonna be millionaires in 10 years. I can already see it.
Okay, thank you.
Y'all have the hustle.
We heard that in the sense like what she just said, like, so, you know, it'll be us, and then we'll be training 3 people, you know, and those 3 people become good. So at that point, those 3 people are co-hosting for our properties. I mean, our or homeowners, I should say, and we'll get a percentage per that. So it goes to a point where they're doing all the co-hosting, but we're getting the kickback for all the co-hosting that they're doing. So that's where we're trying to move to, you know, because at times, you know, not all the time, but at times, co-hosting can, you know, get kind of overwhelming with all the properties and things like that. So just depending on where the listings are, where the properties are, things like that. So at times, I should say, not all the times. So what she said, something like that will allow us to step back and allow us to actually talk to homeowners, property owners, pretty much 24/7 to recruit them all the time.
He already does that, by the way, like 24/7.
But you know, hey, we can never give enough, you know. But yeah, so that's kind of like how we think about it. So like now we're co-hosting, so our next step is be able to co-host without co-hosting.
So we need co-host.
Yeah, co-hosting. And I guess we just yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, you want to work on your business instead of in your business.
Correct.
Like Robert Kiyosaki. I think that's
yeah.
They're working to fire themselves. That's good.
Fire yourself. There you go.
Straight up.
Oh, man, this is cool. So we gotta move down to Houston, man. What are we doing here in this area? It's all banned over here, Myka.
Matter of fact, we got some people. You're our second guest from Houston.
Really?
Our boy Norman's from down there.
Oh, we need to set y'all up, man. They do this.
Yeah. We got to hook y'all got to go to his Airbnb Houston. He has a short-term rental meetup down there. His name's Norman Hamilton. Yeah. Y'all got to go link up with him.
Is he in Airbnb? Because we're like in all the Airbnb groups on Facebook.
We're in
stuff
two Houston groups.
Yeah.
I've never seen Norman.
Yeah. Just check up the meetup. His meetup. He has a meetup down there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely.
He talks a lot about Bitcoin. See, if you might see Bitcoin talk. He's a huge man.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was one of them. He was an early investor. He got it in with Bitcoin.
Paid for his whole college, right?
Oh,
something he did. Yeah.
Ethereum or one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, Houston, man. That's I should have took the transfer over there. Clean it up.
But Dallas is growing, right? You know.
Well, yeah, Dallas is growing, but just they banned Airbnb pretty much everywhere around here. It's crazy.
But I mean, honestly, this is how I look at it. Like Dallas is not banned in Dallas. You can pay taxes for it. I mean, but like, there's only one city that the entire Airbnb has only partnered with one city in the state of Texas to actually pay hot taxes, and that city is Plano. So that's why I've been kind of avoiding. I've been avoiding buying properties in the Texas area. I've been buying in another place because I know it's friendly over there. But as far as like arbitrage and what y'all doing, y'all safe. So it'll like regulations really won't affect them unless the property owners get scared, which I doubt. Y'all send them a check, they ain't gonna give a damn.
And you know, like every time we come, like we start a new talking to a new property owner, you know, it's always that quick second that like it's kind of like we won't tell if you don't tell. You know, they always ask like, is the area with it, and I'm like, we never had that issue, and they're like, okay, because I don't want to have to, and I'm like, we get it, and then the property owner's like, okay, as long as we're on the same page,
you don't tell them.
So it's like, okay, as long as we're on it together, we're all good.
Already got you.
Yeah. I have two quick questions. The first one is, what is a crazy Airbnb story that happened to y'all? I know y'all done a lot of Airbnb, and what's like a crazy situation that y'all been through? And how did y'all rectify it, or what happened?
What would I say crazy?
Are you asking like guests or just Airbnb in general?
We can do both. We can start with guests.
To be completely honest, like she does a real good job screening guests, but we never had any bad guests. I don't want to like jinx us, but we never had that. The worst guest we had was the one right across from NRG. I think he was like smoking hookah or something, and he burned our couch on our floor. You know, so we came back, and it's obvious, but like again, she screens them so well. Before we even got there, they bought new sheets. We didn't even tell them they bought new sheets and stuff. And then we came back, and we're like, okay, thank you for the sheets, but our couch and our floor still burnt, you know? So we sent in a request, and they paid immediately. So like, we never really had like bad issues like that, but I can tell you a story about on the other side about hosting. So I'll try to make the story not so long, but this is kind of a long story. So
take your time.
We found somebody on Craigslist trying to sell their condos. Okay, they were using it via Airbnb already, you know. So in my head, that's when I was like, okay, maybe he's trying to sell it. We don't want to buy it. But we're like, maybe we can help you co-host, or maybe we can help you on that end, you know. So he was, you know, putting up a big game. He was talking, oh yeah, it's making this much. It's blah blah. So we're like, okay, this must be good. Yeah, we have a manager in place right now. Don't worry. So I'm like, okay. So we come in and we go to the are y'all familiar with hostels? You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you know, like I come in, he's like a hostel. So my head, I'm like, okay, he isn't a hostel regular. So we come in and we're like, whoa, you know, like, and we're seeing how much he's charging. He's charging like $10 a bed. He's charging like, we're like, whoa, you know? So like we had a chat with him like, okay, if we're going to start with you, there's certain things that we had to move forward, you know? There's like so many color sheets. There's just so many crazy things. So we're like, okay, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. You know, kind of like, if you want to get started to do this.
So you have to standard.
So you want to make sure it's a certain standard. So he's like, okay, not an issue. So while in the process, you know, at least in our eyes, is giving new sheets, new towels, new blankets, new pillows, things like that. We're changing them, us personally. And some of the guests were in there and somebody complained about the new sheets and new towels and stuff. And like, that was like the most, like he actually came up to me. He was like, yeah, are you the new host manager? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, well, why are you changing the sheets and stuff? Like, I honestly didn't know what to say. I was like,
I don't know.
Because the other sheets were dirty. like I really didn't know what to say. Like, that was like the wildest story, the wildest situation. And like, even she was like, no way somebody's gonna not be happy with new sheets, new towels.
I was excited. I was like, oh, they're gonna be so happy when they get back. But,
and then like we got pushed back, and that's like, it's not like a real story, but like that like caught us off guard. Like we're like, okay, but again, like we were saying, that people were $10 a bed,
and
like,
it was three bunk beds in the room.
So it was 8 people in one room.
Jeez.
Six. I'm sorry, 6. I can't do math. It was 6 people. It was ridiculous. And like,
a lot of them were not paying. Like, we come to find out, a lot of them have their trips been like, it ended on Airbnb a long time ago, but they were just there. And
like, no. I pay them every other Saturday.
And everyone had different agreements.
Everybody had
Some people were paying like $1 a day. There was a guy who was homeless, and he said he was paying $1 a day.
There's one guy who used to be homeless, and he was literally paying $1 a day, you know? And like, I get it.
Oh man!
At the same time, like, it's a business, you know. So like,
that's kind of stressful.
It was like that again. That was like our first jump into being a co-host, honestly. So like that kind of like opened our eyes to so much. After that, we started getting a purchase list. After that, we started to get a contract. After that, we started to put so many things in play because we're like, oh, no, we're not gonna come to something like that, you know. But it was crazy.
Yeah. They was up in there paying that $10 a day, man. You can't come up here messing up these dirty sheets, man. Going off the groove.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I guess y'all like y'all sheets how y'all like them.
Have some special memories too.
But yeah, that'll probably be like our craziest story via Airbnb in general. Yeah.
See, he should. A guy like that should be featured at the city council. See, he's combating homelessness by letting homeless people stay at his Airbnb and not causing it. He's helping it.
Our very first, was that co-hosting? Yeah, co-hosting. We went in. She moved out of town, like we said. We went in to, help, and we came out with like no money. We put in all our money.
Again. Because
but that was like our.
That was our first we weren't even co-hosting. That was like,
we didn't know what we were doing.
We really didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, we were like, we'll just help you set up
wet
Airbnb.
Behind the ears. We came inside the apartment. We didn't really know what to look at. We're like, oh yeah, this look like a good apartment to rent. And then once we really got in there, we're like, smells like cat. there's things right here. You know, so many small things. So like we put so much money in and literally got nothing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another story. But I use that as a learning curve, you know, like a teaching moment.
Yeah. Learn from it. Okay, I do have 2 more questions. Sorry. I was gonna, because you said Erica's really good at screening. You throw me some good screening advice, Erica.
Let's see. So first thing I always want to look at is government ID. If they have that on there, then I'll ask them more questions about. Let me say this. So the very, very thing that we like to what's that word? What's the word I'm looking for? Press on, or like we like to really emphasize is when you have your instant book on, make sure you have the 2 additional requirements, which is recommended from other hosts and what? Government IDs?
I think a certain number of
reviews or something like that. So those people can instant book and you won't worry about that. But the other people who send in reservations, I like to make sure they have government ID. If they have government ID, I'll ask them some more questions like what brings you to the area? And depending on their answer, if they're like a straightforward person, they'll just be like, oh, I'm visiting, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't have like an answer and they're just like, oh, for work, then I'll be like, okay, well, we'll meet you there when you check in. All of our properties are self-check-in, but I'll say we'll meet you there. And then if I get pushed back from there, then it's like, okay, there's a reason you don't want us to meet you. And some people, they don't have government ID. So I'll say, hey, upload a form of government ID. If they do it right away, then, you know, they're just innocent. They didn't know. But if they don't, then it's like, okay, why don't you want to do it? So
not
people,
all the time, but, you know, it's just something to look at. It's like if you ask them, it takes like a whole day. It's like I guess you're not, you know, maybe you're trying to do something different that you weren't, you know?
You know what? That whole instant book thing you just said, man, I just kind of had one of them situations today where somebody sent through, I have an instant book property in Arkansas, and somebody sent through a request. And he was like, we always accept them, but this one got accepted. And I don't really pay attention to it, so I went back and looked. And usually when people send through a request and instant books on, and I have those 2 additional categories checked, they send in a request because either one, they have no reviews, or they have bad reviews. So I was like, okay, whatever. I went back and I looked, I'm like, 7 reviews. I'm like, oh shit, I wasn't let in my house, man. So I started going through the reviews and I seen it was only one bad one. But the one bad one was he brought big dogs in the house and they were pooping all over the place. I'm like, man. I'm like, man, if this happened to me, I'm like, bro, I'm about to send the squad over. You got to get them out of there, man.
Big dog.
That is a very good one. If you got the instant book on, definitely keep those extra requirements.
I'm surprised because a lot of hosts, they don't know about the additional requirements. They just are mad and like, oh, I hate instant book. I'm like, you could just add the other 2 and I think you'll be fine. But
I think that is a big, again, like I said, we're in all the Airbnb host groups. So we see the complaints, we see what people talk about. So we personally think that if you change those requirements for your instant book, maybe half of those you won't even get. Because I know a lot of those guests that are bad are instant book. And most of the hosts are like, oh, instant book, we're good. You know, they don't even think about it. So I know that. So that's a real good one that she said.
And also pricing. We try not to let any of our listings go below $50 because we find that once it's below $50 a night, it brings in a different type of crowd. You know, people who steal towels. This is all hearsay. It's never happened to us, knock on wood. But one of our host that we co-host for, she was doing Airbnb before and we were like, okay, we'd like you to get new towels, new sheets. She was like, oh no, I'm not getting new towels because guests steal towels. And I was like, wait, what type of guests?
$1 a day guests.
But right now she's had all good guests. She's actually a super host now. So she was really excited about that. But
and she literally just got a 4-month booking for almost 5,000, you know, a couple of days ago. So So 20% of that, cha-ching. What else? So I would say just keep your price. Like if you feel like you just cannot
keep it above $50. It's probably something inside the listing that you need to change, maybe get better sheets or get some art on the walls. Just try to keep it, you know, at a good rate that only hardworking people who work hard for their money will, you know, spend. What else? Other than that, I think I don't know, we've never really had issues with the guests. I like to ask a lot of questions, and that's been helping. I don't do background checks because, you know, some people steal, but they just wanted to steal when they were kids. So I won't let that, you know, t-shirt they stole from the mall be the reason they can't sleep over. Right. But yeah, that just make sure they have the government ID, ask questions. Sometimes you just get a feeling. There was a time we had someone try to book, but she just said she's coming to visit her sister. And I'm like, okay, why don't you stay with your sister? But I was like, okay, the apartment isn't available. And right after that, we had someone instant book, and he had like one good review. So he was able to instant book. And I was like, oh, okay, this seems kind of fishy because it's the exact same date. It was like 30 minutes apart, you know? So I was like, okay, we'll meet you at 5. And at this time I was still working. So I was like speeding down to the apartment so he wouldn't self-check in. And then he was like, oh, I'll be working late. So I won't be able to check in until 8. I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll be there then. So I'm waiting, and then 7:30 comes. He was like, oh, I had to stay late behind for work. I'll be there at 11. Oh, man. No problem. We'll be here. Then he was like, oh, is there a way I can just go ahead and cancel? Because I think what happened was the girl I turned down, she just asked a friend who had a review and tried to book. And maybe she wouldn't have been a bad guest, but maybe just not, you know, just because you went that route, yeah. So certain things your instincts too will tell you, but for the most part, just pay attention. Yeah. I don't know. Just pay attention.
Yeah, I definitely think women have better instincts than guys.
Yeah, because all the time
I'm not catch it at all.
I was like, why you not take that? You know? She's like, no, trust me. Like, why not?
It's money. Turn it down for money.
Yeah, definitely.
I do have another question I wanted to get to real quick. The Instagrammable wall. This is the first time I heard of this one. It sounds pretty cool. And what is that, and how do you make one?
So just anything, especially in this age of Instagram, the phrase Instagrammable wall, anything can be an Instagrammable wall. Like, for example, you have this like banner behind you about the podcast, like that is kind of Instagrammable. You know, if they know about the podcast and let's say they're staying at your house and they're like, oh, this is the room that the podcast is filmed in, just the fact that they took a picture and posted it will put your spot on the map. So just putting something, it doesn't even have to be a wall, it can be like a sculpture or like maybe a cool throw blanket, just something that people want to share on Snapchat, Facebook, anything will bring attention to your Airbnb. So not just relying on the Airbnb platform, but like trying to get involved in social media, because that is the fastest way, especially now we have viral tweets, viral posts. Like you just want to be something that people want to share. Because like business, word of mouth is the best way, you know, to get clients. So just having something that people want to share with people at home. So like, oh, I want to travel there and see it, you know, oh, that was cool. I want to take a picture with it. So just having something, anything.
That is awesome. Great advice.
Yeah, and I know a way that she likes to do it is it can be as simple as wallpapering a certain area of a wall, you know, not like the whole wall, but like wallpapering right here, having a small desk or having some, you know, just that small area. So it's like a real vibrant wallpaper right there, and the rest is blank. So, you know, that area must be special, you know, it's just something so small. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on it either.
And for Airbnbs, they have now, it's kind of like, it's wallpaper, but it's kind of like sticker. So like you can easily take it off. It's already self-adhesive. You just peel off the backing, put it on the wall. When you're leaving, you can take it off. If you change your mind, you can take it off. You get tired of it, you can take it off. I know the brand I like to use is Roommates wallpaper. They have that. Target has it. Amazon has it. So that's a quick, cheap, easy way. Right now in our garage apartment, we were trying to stay under 500. So what I did was just put wallpaper on a door, because, you know, a door is smaller. So now we have a door with like leaves on it. It's really cool. You can take pictures, but it's not something that just costs a lot of money. It was one roll, and that's like $36. So, you know,
can reuse it.
You can move it to somewhere else, but I feel like you could probably only reuse it once.
Okay.
You probably have to enforce it with push pins, but it's something you can change, and it won't damage the paint on your wall or anything. So adhesive wallpaper, self-adhesive.
So is that the Erica and AJ tip of the day, or what is y'all's special?
For co-hosting, I'll let AJ do that.
Okay. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna use the tip and you say Facebook, honestly. Like she said, before I never really even thought to do this, but how I find new property owners or new people to work with, like I literally go on Facebook and people may be selling their home, listing their home, renting their home out, you know, and I like to talk to actual homeowners as opposed to realtors, because, you know, realtors, you have to, you're talking to an in-between person, but if you're talking to the actual homeowner, it's a lot quicker. You get the quicker response. So I always like to ask simple question: is it for rent by owner, for sale by owner? And, you know, with that answer, it gets me, you know, how I get to there. But I probably message 50, 100, 150 people a day, honestly, you know, like just for rent by owner, they'll be like, no. For rent by owner, they're like, yes. I'm like, okay. Have you ever considered putting it on Airbnb? I never have. You know, not sending my number, we chat. Thank you, but this is not a good fit for me. Okay, go on to the next person. So, like, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, man, like, I'm hitting so many people up. Like, nobody wants to do Airbnb. Like, it's so, it makes sense, you know. But like, out of all those, a random call one day, and it's like, is this AJ? And I'm like, hello, like, who is this? And like, she was actually there, and he was like, yeah, I got your number off someone on Facebook. They said you're the guy to talk to about Airbnb. And I'm like, oh, wow. You know, so like, I see like all those people on messaging, like, all right, let me know whenever you're ready. Let me know if you have somebody else, you know, like I let them know, like, if you're not ready, you don't want to do it, that's fine. You know, like, I'm not like pressuring you. It's just, it's an option to think about, because to be honest with you, a lot of times the homeowners may have another mortgage or like another home. So us coming to them saying, okay, right now you have a double mortgage. So if anything, give us this 1 month and let's see how much money you make. Let us try it out, because no matter what, you have to pay that mortgage. Like, that's not going anywhere. And you're actively trying to find a long-term renter, and you haven't for the past couple months. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is the perfect person to talk to, because one, they're desperate. And I don't want to, you know, I'm in sales, you know, so like desperate people buy. So like they're desperate. So I kind of just went and was like, okay, what about trying to use Airbnb 1 month? With your size property, with my experience, I know you can make at least this amount. And their long-term rent may be $1,500. And I'm saying you can make $2,000. And like doing that, that's how we pretty much got all of our co-hosting. Like, me just going, talking to maybe hundreds of people on Facebook, maybe like 10% of them actually messaging me back with something positive. All the other ones just saying, no, don't want to do it. I hate Airbnb, you know, all those other ones. But I try to stay diligent, because that one turned into like all the other ones, you know. And like how I said before we were doing a co-hosting, I felt like we were doing a lot of work, you know. But as we learn our systems and we learn the practices in place and things like that, I feel like we do less work with more listings, you know, and we're getting more money in. So right now I'm like, okay, let's try to grow the co-hosting as much as possible since we have this system in place, because I forget who said it. It may have been Bigger Pockets again, Brandon. He said, you buy one house, it takes you 1 year. To get that second house, it takes you 6 months. To get that fifth house, it takes you 3 months. To get that 10th house, you're getting in 2.5 weeks, you know, just because each time you learn more and more and more. So like this year, like it's something that we've seen grown on it. But to stick to the actual question about the actual tip, I'm just going to say straight Facebook. Use your resources. You know, whenever I talk to homeowners, they're saying, how do you find people? And I say Facebook. They're like, Facebook? Like, really? So my real tip is use all your resources. Don't hesitate to talk to somebody on a weird app, or talk to somebody that you don't know, or try out a new app. You know, like I'm on Let Go. They sell used clothes and furniture and stuff like that. And I saw somebody trying to rent their home on there. You know, in the mind, like if you're trying to rent your home on Let Go, you must be pretty desperate, you know. So like, I don't know, like I don't want to just go after desperate people, but I don't know. I guess that just be my tip. Kind of know who you're talking to, you know, and like us, we're mostly talking to homeowners, and a lot of homeowners try to sell or rent on Facebook. So that's where I go.
Please, that's a great tip, and we appreciate y'all so much for hopping on the show. It's been a long show, been really good, so much information. And real quickly, where can people find you, reach out to you, start getting that co-host on with y'all?
We are on Instagram. Our Instagram is ealodging. We also have a website. It's ealodging.com. And you can always shoot us an email at ealodging@gmail.com. So it's pretty consistent. We check it all the time. So feel free to reach out if you need co-hosting or co-hosting tips and advice.
Yes.
Awesome. What do you think about Kawhi Leonard going to the Lakers?
Yeah, don't get me started, man.
Hold on. You aren't a Rockets fan, are you?
See, like we were talking about that earlier. Like I'm not a Rockets fan, you know.
Good.
Let me not just say that. I liked the Rockets when it was like Steve Francis and Katina Mobley and stuff like that. That's when I was a real fan.
True fan.
Know? So, and I kind of liked them when T-Mac came and Yao Ming came. But now I just feel like we win for losing, though. We win all the time, and then we just end up losing. So it's just stressful.
Get rid of that coach.
Don't get me started, man. Don't get me started.
But hey, I might have to link up with y'all because I'm gonna be in Houston next weekend. I actually gotta go down there. Yeah, I have to link up with y'all and talk to y'all about some co-hosting.
Definitely, man.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank y'all so much for hopping on. It's a great show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely.
Wait, we didn't say this. So actually, when we first started this Airbnb journey, we were listening to your podcast. So yeah, like in the car all the time. So that's how I actually found Myka, because I was like, hey, isn't that the Myka? Yeah. So
he talks a lot of crap on the forums. That's why.
So it's cool to be on here because we felt like you guys did, play a big role.
Y'all really did, honestly.
Helping this growth. Sure.
Like I forget. I remember Myka was saying something about pricing and turn your closer to the end of the week, increase your weekend pricing, things like that. I don't know. You just say so many small things. I'm like, oh, wow. And I implement it and I see it come in effect. So definitely. It's real cool to be on a podcast where I actually learned a lot of stuff on the way. So it's cool. And I appreciate y'all for letting us on here.
Man, thank y'all, man.
So
thank y'all.
We're learning a lot from you guys too.
Yeah, thank y'all for being listeners, man. For real, like that means a lot. Like me and Steve started in a little corner doing this in his house, man. For real, and it just grew, man. For real, we definitely appreciate all the listeners.
No problem, man. No problem.
All right, we hope to link up with y'all pretty soon, and y'all take care and good luck on your journey.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Peace.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.